everyone, Simply Zoological here. I want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who has watched the first part of this three-part build. If you haven't yet, I will add a card to the top, and you'll be able to go check that video out real quick. I do want to go ahead and say thank you to whoever commented for our dodo bird's name. His name will now be Terry forever and always. His name is I absolutely love that comment and I love that name. It rolls off the tongue so nicely. So thank you everyone for whoever commented that. Here we are. So in this build, we are building the restaurant. We are starting with like this rectangular box, and I'm going to add details inside of it to make it a little bit less feel like a rectangle. And but here I'm adding the new glass doors that we got in the last update, I believe, with the modular gift shop set. Yes, we got these glass doors, and they work so well for this build. They're very simple, very sleek, and I love them. I do add the Timberwolf paneling in there because I thought it needed a little bit of detail, so I add that in. But I was kind of back and forth between the Timberwolf and the bear. I think the bear is cuter, but I think the Timberwolf fits more with the theme for this zoo. So I do stick with the Timberwolf, and I was at one point thinking, what if I did the bear here and the Timberwolf there, and that because we do have three different sets of these doors. It's the same door just copied over, and I was thinking, well, I was like, what if we did this and then did the bear over on the other side? I was like, no, we'll just keep it the same. So I just keep it the same throughout the whole build. But I may change it, may not. We'll just have to see. It's kind of growing on me now, but it wasn't at first. So here we're just gonna continue to add the hinges on the doors to make it a little more realistic, and then just continue to adjust the doors to because I wanted them to be open to where you felt welcomed in. You didn't have to open the door to come in or anything like that. I want you to feel like, oh, I really want to go in there. Let me check it out. Let me check out what's in there and everything. And so that's what I was planning on doing. So here we're just I believe next after I add this door we're gonna go back over to the windows. Yes, I wanted these windows to literally be like how they are now. I wanted you to see like the whole window, but I didn't know how to do that with the pieces that I had. I do end up eventually figure it out. I do figure it out, but it took me a minute to figure out how I wanted to do it and what pieces I needed to use. I end up using the teeny tiny little plaster piece that we got in a couple updates ago, or a couple DLCs ago. Maybe it was DLC. I can't remember if this was a DLC or if it's now base game. I can't remember. But um, so here again, I'm fiddling with the windows, trying to figure out my sizing and everything because I wanted as much of the window to show as possible because we do add a tomato wall and an aquaponic system in here, and I wanted you to be able to see as much of that as possible through the windows and be more inclined to go in to the restaurant. So here I'm changing over to the teeny tiny little plaster piece, and then I'm going to mess around with the wood and the non-gridded and the versus the gridded wood pieces. They I love them. I love those pieces. They're like one of my favorites in this game, but they don't have like the same pattern. Like the texture's the same, but the actual like the color pattern is different. I don't know if it's because I need to flip it or something. Maybe I don't know, but the so I just had to go and I had to rechange the whole thing. But we get it figured out, and I eventually I love how it turns out. But we do frame the inside of the windows, and I was at one point thinking of like taking the plaster like all the way across in between those two windows right there, but I decided against it. I was like, that may be a little too much because I was gonna do like this cute little seating area there and all this, and I was like, no, let's just skip it. We'll just skip over it and we'll continue on. And I do change the uh plaster to the black to match with the current out with the current theme of the ticket booth. But I think I do at some point change it over to white. Not in this video. I do it off camera, I believe. So if y'all see a cut and there's like a it's now white, that's why. But I did add the black over to the other side as well, and now we're working on the actual interior. I love how this interior turned out. It turned out so much better than I ever thought it would. I added I added an aquaponic system and a tomato vine wall. But I did make my own custom not really custom. I added a few plaster pieces here and there, and I made it my own counter because I didn't want to use the I wanted to use these I didn't want to use the actual big huge counters that we have, like the big square box counters restaurants that we have in game. I didn't want to use those, so I was like, well, I'll just make my own, and that's what I did. And so we're gonna change that over to black. I think here in just a second. If not right now, I'm trying to find all the pieces that I used to change it over and then delete a couple. But I do go ahead and make that whole center part. I do expand that all the way across because I liked how it was originally, but I like it even more with this, and it works a lot better like this for the tomato vine, for the tomato wall. Anyways, and then here we're gonna add our pathing, or not our pathing, but our flooring to the build. And I do struggle because again, this zoo is on a height map. I will most likely eventually take it off the height map because height and because terrain and pathing in this game don't work together at all. They're like arch enemies, and they just crash against each other every time. And so we'll probably change it, and so I had to raise the flooring a little bit. But here I am doing something that I have not seen many, or if any, content creators for Planet Zoo do at all. And all it is just simply taking a color swatch and making it lighter and darker, but on the benches and on the bins, like for outside, to make some look more weathered and some look less weathered. And I don't know, maybe I just haven't been paying that much attention, but I thought that was a neat detail to add. And then I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna struggle for probably 5 minutes with the in real time. I struggled probably 5 minutes with these benches, trying to figure out why I couldn't place the two of them right next to each other. And that's just because planets the Frontier has made it that way. So I have to go and I have to use the tables, which I mean I don't mind the tables. I think the tables look nice. They're they're circles. They add shape. They add rhythm. They add flow. It looks nice. And so we're gonna we will add umbrellas over to not every single one of the uh benches, but what I really wish is if we had some umbrellas that were like folded over. You know how a lot of zoos and stuff, they'll have like the umbrellas, but they'll be like folded down. That's what I wish we had, because that would make things so much easier, because then I could add one to every single table and pick which ones were open and which ones weren't. But here, I did get this item off of the Steam Workshop. I will link it down in the description below. But I do want to go ahead and say that I did adjust it a little bit because it is very big. It's a very big item, and it works absolutely amazing. I absolutely love how it turned out. I think it works perfectly for what I'm trying to do in this zoo. But it was a very I could tell, obviously, whoever built this, whoever made it, they had it in a very tall building. So I do just kind of shorten it up a little bit, but again, I will add this down in the description below so y'all can use it yourselves and adjust it as you need to. But I do go and I place it over every single table, but I believe I do go off camera and I do take some out because it was a lot. Once I actually got to looking at it, I was like, this is a lot of lights for this little area. And then here, we're going to get started on the aquaponic system. So for this system, it took me, I mean, the actual building of it didn't take me that long. But what took me so long was because I wanted actual water underneath there to make it more realistic. Just because I wanted water in there, no, not for any particular reason. Just because I was being stubborn and I wanted it. And so I do go and I take the little fountains and I put in there. The tall circular fountains is what I use to add the water element in there. I mean, yes, all the holes are covered up, so you technically can't see through them. But I wanted to know that there's water in there. That's simple. It's as simple as that. I wanted to know that there's water in there. And because again, with an aquaponic system, I haven't seen many content creators make an aquaponic system, but I have seen many make a hydroponic system. To where with the hydroponic system, it's towered, it's vertical, because it's maintained by human. To where an aquaponic system is more or less maintained. It's basically self-maintaining. It's less work, but it is more expensive than a hydroponic system because it does maintain itself, and you have to feed the fish and everything because the fish emulsion, which is fish poop, basically, the fish emulsion gives once it breaks down and deteriorates, it gives nutrients to the plants and the roots. The fish will nibble on the roots and stuff, and the roots will give the nutrients to the fish. So it does it basically makes its own little ecosystem all in this little box. And most aquaponic systems are like the top is there is some sort of opening to where you can see the fish inside, but I was like, we're just gonna cover it all up because I didn't have a way of doing that. So I was like, we're just gonna cover it all up because again, it's not like an actual body of water in there. It's just fountains in there. So we're just gonna cover it up, and I do add these little bubble elements. I thought this is a really cute idea. I figured it out, and I was like, oh, this would be cute, and so I just chose 3 different blues: a light, a medium, and a dark blue, and I use like the different sizes and stuff, and I add those, and they add this really nice element in there that I think turned out really well. But here we are going to start on the tomato wall. So you could tell at first I was kind of back and forth between the black and the white, and I do go and I do change it to black because it makes the tomatoes pop even more. But I do use this solar panel from off of the Steam Workshop. Again, if I'm a firm believer in if you don't have the time or if you don't want to make something, just get it off the Steam Workshop. I'm sure someone else has already made it and they've done a great job at it, so just use it. Because again, I'd already put 15 hours into this build, and I was like, I'm not spending 30 minutes making a solar panel just to, yeah, no. Because I wanted it to be like a grow light, but I wanted a bigger grow light. And I didn't want just like a regular old light. I wanted it in like a cage, like a solar panel, and that's what I did. So I adjusted, I do take the backing off of it, and I add our um, square lights, the cube, not cube, but the square light pieces that we have in game. I believe they're from the New World stuff, so they're base game. But I add those in there, and I just to keep them from like fighting with each other because that bugs the tar out of me. I change them and I add a little bit of height variations in them to make them not fight so bad. and then we're just gonna add. We're over here. We're gonna put chains on them to put them over the aquaponic system as well. Because again, I was going to not do grow lights, but then I was like, well, if we're inside and they don't have any way to get, I mean, yes, the doors are open most of the time, but there isn't a whole lot of light filtering in, and at least not enough to keep the plants growing for long periods of time. So I decided to just add grow lights to the aquaponic system and to the tomato vine wall as well. And then we'll just go here. I do change because I changed something about them. I can't remember what I did, but I changed something about them that I like better for the tomato wall. So I copy and paste those over. And then here we're just gonna add the lattice for the tomatoes, and I do take that all the way across. I was thinking at one point to just kind of like do it like just in the middle, but I was like, we'll just do it all the way across. It'll be fine. And then I do go and I add the tomatoes. I do put them all in the same direction, but then once I get them all placed down, I do go and I change them, and I pull some forward, push some back, that kind of thing. So just kind of changing them, adjusting them however I feel like. And then I do add some tomatoes, like the smaller tomato vines in like the more empty spaces, because again, no two plants grow the same. So some plants grow a little bit more fast, some will grow a little bit slower. Just depends on the genetics, everything of the plants, everything that the plant has. And each plant is different. Just like every human is different. Nobody grows at the same rate. So I did change the color to black because again, it does make those tomatoes pop really nice. And I do end up having to make like the little middle section where I put the word tomatoes, because this Saturday night font, again, will be in the description below, but the font itself is made out of the bracket hinge pieces. I can't remember, I don't know exactly what they're called, but they're like those little bracket hinge pieces with like the little U, that everyone uses to make like the custom billboards. Whenever we were making custom billboards. But that's what they used for that font, and I was so I had to change the panel behind the word to white to make the black pop. So I think it adds like a nice contrast too, and it allows me to do something really cool, kind of similar to what I did with the bubbles over at the aquaponic system. It allows me to add basically like a small tomato vine. And once we get to that tomato vine, I that tomato vine, it's a really cute idea, and I absolutely love how it turned out. But it took me a minute to figure it out, because the actual vine itself, we don't have like, and I didn't want to use a plant. I wanted it to look man-made, and so I used the neon light bars, like the little half-meter neon light, and I just recolor it to green. And I've never used that piece before until now, and I love how that turned out, because I wanted to kind of keep the same circular feature going from the aquaponic system over into the tomatoes. But I was thinking there for a minute that I was gonna have to, but I was gonna have to scratch that idea, because I was using ropes and everything, and we didn't have anything that I liked enough besides the neon light, which I absolutely love how it turned out. But yeah, it took me a minute to figure that one out. And then, so here, as we are coming to the end of this video, we are going to add these circle tomatoes, like I just said. But I do want to go ahead and say thank you, everyone who has commented, who has subscribed, who has liked, and is continuing to comment, subscribe, and like. So thank you so much to all the support that you've given me, and to the support that you've shown to YouTube as well. I mean, I couldn't be doing this without YouTube being a platform that it is. And so I do want to go and say thank you so much. But as we are coming to the end of this video, I do want to wish you all a very good day. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the next video, and you will go back and watch the first video if you haven't. So, bye.